whenever I hear about tantric practice, it always seems to be the ideal practitioner who's doing this with incredible intensity and sincerity of heart, and very much like yourself, aware of every possible deeper meaning. Is there not, I'm not talking about left-handed, right-handed or anything, but sort of humdrum everyday tantric practice, puja, where people become routine and they kind of go through the motions without the depth that you're talking about? Is that must be a human factor? Is that happening?
Absolutely. It tends to be more and more sloppy, and we get to be more and more tired or not wanting to do.
Yeah.
And like, for example, mantra jap, for example, let me find the, like I found these beads right now. So I'm using these beads for counting, for example. In different cultures, we use beads for counting. So Tantra says, don't use the beads now because you are being sloppy. You start using the alphabets, like from A to Ksha and Ksha to A, you go 50, 50, 100, and Ācārya, Tapa, Yasa, 8, added 108. So now it's very difficult to be sloppy now because A and then the mantra, A and then the mantra. But then when it gets so used to, after practicing for a year or two, and then you can start having your own mental journey to, India and Nepal, and then it still keeps on going. And then they add 3 syllables now instead of just A. Now Ācārya. Now they, if somebody wants to perform with its intensity, they keep adding these additional elements to make it more and more complex, so that the refined subject, because when I want to do Rudram, I don't need to use my mind, because I've read this text maybe like 10,000 times, and I can do all and then be sleeping, So, but then how do we make this as active? Is therefore then they would assign, like if I'm chanting this particular mantra, then I'm supposed to offer that particular object, and then I need to be in tracking these things of whether when I'm reading these 16, for example, initial mantras, then am I offering 16 different objects, or am I being sloppy and mixing that? Exactly. So the texts and the teachers try to make it as exact and as meticulous, but the practitioners always love to be sloppy. And one of the good things about Tantra is, like, if someone really wants to practice, and then we scare them off that if you go sloppy, and then so many negative things can happen, and and then you might have some psychological problems, and people start imagining if it is harming me or something, and they run away. So what the Tantras do is, rather than making it more broadly applicable so people can be sloppy and still do, we like to scare them off so that they just, if they are feeling sloppy, they can leave it.